The report has been a long time coming and relives an inquiry which began in April last year. It set out to look into the reasons for Ian McGrail's early retirement in June 2020 and the sequence of events leading to it. Under Section 34 of the Police Act, the police authority has the power to remove the Commissioner of Police on consultation with the Governor and the Chief Minister. The report states procedures here were not followed. Mr McGrail was not given the opportunity to make representations to answer complaints against him, and the GPA did not independently consider whether it accepted the grounds on which the Chief Minister and the Governor claimed to have lost confidence in the Commissioner. And the report states that while the GPA acted in good faith, it made serious mistakes for which it cannot escape criticism. In fact, on legal advice that the procedures were fundamentally flawed, it had to abandon the process. And neither the Interim Governor nor the Chief Minister properly particularised their complaints. On the cumulative reasons of why Mr McGrail retired, the report concludes he felt he was unfairly and unlawfully compelled to do so because neither the Chief Minister, Mr Pyle, or the GPA had followed proper procedures, and Mr Picardo had not explained the real reason for his loss of confidence. Ian McGrail felt improper pressure was being put on him by the Chief Minister to alter the course of a live criminal investigation. Nick Pyle unfairly contemplated the default position of getting rid of him under the Police Act without giving proper details of the complaints. The prospect of humiliation as a result of the threat of compulsory retirement following that unfair process was also, according to the report, a contributing factor, as was his deteriorating mental health and his genuine but probably mistaken belief that he would lose his pension. The report's most damning criticism is of the Chief Minister and his relationship with Hassan's partners around Operation Delhi. This was an investigation into the alleged sabotage and hacking of the National Security Centralised Intelligence System. During the course of this investigation, the RGP sought to serve a search warrant on Hassan's senior partner, James Levy. Its legality is outside the inquiry's remit, but the facts, according to the chairman, find the application for the search warrant as presented to the court to have had some procedural flaws. Sir Peter Openshaw adds this would not justify any inappropriate interference. The chairman dismisses allegations that the Attorney-General, Michael Yamas, tried to interfere with the investigation before the search warrant was granted. He does, however, note that Mr Yamas should have exercised extreme caution before taking a call from Mr Levy, while the RGP officers were still at Hassan's, stating Mr Levy made the call not as a senior member of the bar in the course of his professional duty representing a client, but personally as a suspect against whom the courts in Gibraltar had issued a search warrant. Taking the call, he says, was unwise and liable to give rise to the misinterpretation that it did. There is strong criticism of the Chief Minister's decision to summon Mr McGrail to his offices and berate him. The chairman states there is a point when criticism risks becoming interference. He adds, this is the first point at which Mr Picardo plainly crossed that line. He rejects Mr Picardo's defence of his actions. Sir Peter Openshaw says he did not think the Chief Minister was protecting the reputation of Gibraltar. I think it far more likely that he was moving to protect Mr Levy, his lifetime friend and mentor, from the likely consequences of the warrant being executed or his phones being interrogated. He finds the meeting to have been a grossly improper attempt to interfere in a legitimate police investigation and operation. However, he concludes there was no actual interference with the RGP's visit to Hassan's, which had carried on precisely as planned. There was a conflict of evidence as to whether Mr McGrail lied to the Chief Minister on whether the Director of Public Prosecutions had advised the RGP to proceed by way of search warrant. Sir Peter Openshaw states Mr McGrail did not deliberately give an untrue version. He did not lie, although the report finds what he said may have been unintentionally misleading, and Mr Picardo's anger may have made him prone to misunderstanding. The report states this misunderstanding, when in fact the DPP had not advised in favour of a search warrant, had the regrettable consequence of causing Mr Picardo to genuinely believe he'd been lied to, and that Ian McGrail had to go, to which he turned his mind almost immediately. This was further aggravated when the Attorney-General, after consulting the DPP, seriously misreported what Christian Roca had said, thereby confirming Mr Picardo's beliefs. The Chief Minister did not make clear to Mr Pyle that there had been a misunderstanding in respect to Mr McGrail's alleged lie, and this continued to form part of the Governor's decision regarding Mr McGrail's retirement. There is also criticism of the Chief Minister for speaking to Hassan's senior partner Luis McGrail after receiving confidential information from the Attorney-General. The report states Mr Picardo should not have spoken to the lawyer then representing Mr Levy in connection with the suspected offence. It adds that Mr McGrail and Mr Levy were both personal friends and fellow partners at Hassan's, makes it doubly objectionable that Mr Picardo revealed this information. Sir Peter Openshaw says that to tell Mr Levy what he had been told by Mr Llamas about this advice given by the DPP was a grossly improper disclosure of confidential material which he must have known and intended might assist his defence to the detriment of the prosecution. There are other incidents where Mr Picardo is said to have acted improperly. One was a message from him to Luis McGrail, quoting from the police discipline regulations, which set out the most severe disciplinary penalty available: dismissal with total loss or reduction of pension benefits. Mr Picardo explained that, as he well knew, those regulations do not apply to the Commissioner of Police. He said he was not writing about removing Mr McGrail. He was referring to removing Mr Richardson. Sir Peter Openshaw says it's far more likely the Chief Minister was referring to Mr McGrail, but adds that if it was directed at Mr Richardson, the position would then be that the Chief Minister is seeking to suggest to the lawyer of a man suspected of serious crime the circumstances in which Mr Richardson, the senior investigating officer in charge of the investigation of that serious crime, could be removed from office, and therefore removed from the investigation. Whether he was gunning for Mr McGrail as Commissioner of Police or Mr Richardson as the senior investigating officer, this was a grossly improper attempt by Mr Picardo at interference with the investigation. Another was a message to Luis McGrail with another idea that had occurred to him, including a suggestion that one possible way for Mr McGrail to retrieve Mr Levy's devices from the RGP would be to apply to the Magistrates' Court under Section 76 of the Police Act. Here, the Chief Minister of Gibraltar is suggesting to the lawyer of a man who was then suspected of serious crime involving the security systems protecting Gibraltar how he might retrieve his client's mobile from the police so as to prevent the police from interrogating it, which they were very anxious to do. The report states that, again, that proposition only needs to be set out to demonstrate its gross impropriety. The closeness of the relationship between the Chief Minister and Hassan's partners is further emphasised at a meeting at Mr Picardo's house, not disclosed in early statements. The chairman questions how the Chief Minister could have forgotten this, saying, "A personal meeting with two of his great friends and two fellow partners of Hassan's, Mr Levy and Mr McGrail, at this time of Mr Levy's personal crisis, when Mr Picardo was already making moves against Mr McGrail, during the height of the COVID pandemic, would surely be highly memorable." He concludes neither Mr Picardo nor Mr Levy chose to disclose this because it would be deemed entirely inappropriate. Luis McGrail and James Levy are criticised for the lack of proper safeguards applied to the meeting. Both are leading counsel. They should have been alive to the danger that such a meeting taking place in the Chief Minister's private house, without any note or record, was, at the very least, likely to bear the appearance of old friends at the very heart of power and influence in Gibraltar, seeking to affect the course of a police investigation so as to protect Mr Levy from the consequences of a warrant issued by the courts. The report then highlights another exchange later that night between Fabian Picardo and Luis Baglietto, where it states Mr Picardo's Chief Minister was again canvassing ideas with the lawyer of a man suspected of serious crime as to how his interests could best be protected or advanced. After midnight that night, the report states Mr Picardo came up with yet another idea, sending the Attorney General, Michael Llamas, an image of a section of the Gibraltar Constitution on how Mr Llamas could potentially discontinue the search warrant proceedings. In the chairman's mind, this was another grossly improper attempt by Mr Picardo to interfere in an active criminal investigation by the RGP to protect his friend and mentor, James Levy. However, the chairman states that following meetings between the RGP, the Attorney General and the Director of Public Prosecutions, covertly recorded by McGrael, the former commissioner clearly understood the RGP was free to arrest and interview Mr Levy if it considered it necessary to do so, but which Mr McGrail was then hoping would not be. He finds the government parties were right to observe that this seriously undermines the submission made on behalf of Mr McGrail that Mr Llamas was at these meetings interfering and improperly interfering at that. He adds the Attorney General's skilled diplomacy in brokering an agreement which the RGP themselves voluntarily accepted cannot, in my opinion, amount to an interference with the investigation, and it did not do so. The Chief Minister is also accused of misleading the police authority by deliberately underplaying his real grievance against McGrail. A note of a meeting between Mr Pyle, Mr Picardo and the then Police Authority Chair, Joey Vrito, produced by the Chief Minister, referred to the HMIC report and the incident at sea, as well as to another event that had occurred, where he, Fabian Picardo, had been misled by Mr McGrail. The report points out he did not give any particulars whatsoever of that event, or the details of the way he had been misled. He did not mention Mr Levy by name, he did not mention the search warrant, he did not mention Hassan's or Operation Delhi, nor of course did he refer to his own financial interest in Hassan's or to his close friendship with Mr Levy. Sir Peter Openshaw goes on to say that it seems to him Mr Picardo deliberately told Dr Vrito very little about his real complaint. He adds Mr Picardo quite deliberately and cynically did not spell out that his real grievance arose from the issue of the warrant against Mr Levy, including the alleged lie, and led the GPA to focus on a loss of confidence arising from the concerns of Mr Pyle about the incident at sea and, to a lesser extent, the HMIC report. He says if Mr Picardo's dominant reason for his loss of confidence was the issues arising from Operation Delhi and the alleged lie, I consider it remarkable and indeed sinister that the letter does not name Mr Levy. The letter, he says, was supposed to set out in detail the reasons for asking the Commissioner of Police to retire, and yet it did not do so. In the report, the chairman arrives at the inevitable and irresistible conclusion that Fabian Picardo was using the processes of the GPA to bring about Mr McGrail's effective dismissal for reasons of his own relating to the police investigation into James Levy, while managing the process so as to give the appearance that he was being asked to retire for other reasons, namely the incident at sea and the HMIC report. By character and personality, he says, Dr Vrito was unable to resist what he felt was pressure being put upon him. The decision to then consider exercising his power under Section 13 of the Police Act was entirely Mr Pyle's, with the report saying there was no evidence that he was put under any pressure by anyone else, and in particular by Mr Picardo. The chairman concludes the Interim Governor acted honourably throughout. While he says he does not criticise Mr Pyle for taking the decision he did before the arrival of the new governor, under the circumstances, he says, he did not think it the least bit surprising either that McGrail chose to retire rather than to stay on and fight.